Internet, and welcome to another episode of
Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer to wake Penguin up. We are your hosts.
Penguin and Termite.
I am Termite.
I am Penguin.
And we are a weekly video game podcast smashing together ideas that you care about with video games over a beer.
Woohoo!
You need to wake up.
I do. I was at work late today and I'm feeling it. You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
something about, even though I sit in front of a computer screen all day, I just feel achy in my bones.
I know. It's exhausting.
And
you don't actually lift anything or
No,
move, but
I'm
it's
not
exhausting.
physically doing
I know,
anything,
yeah.
But yeah, it's
maybe
weird.
the
Mental
It's hard to-
energy.
It's hard to explain to people who don't sit in front of a computer all day. I'll tell you that.
And when you do, you still feel like a jerk. You know what I mean?
you still
You're
do,
like, I just sat in front of a computer all day, but I'm so tired.
Mhm.
Oh, that's funny. Yes, we are drinking a beer because we are where gaming goes to grab a beer.
And tonight we are drinking kudos to Jeff, who gave me this beer.
Jeff, kudos.
And if you know Jeff, which some of
I
you
don't
might,
know Jeff.
because you listen to this show and you work with him, or you just know him on the street, the name of the beer is called "But Does It Make Sense?" ? And that is totally Jeff's sense of humor. When you talk to him about stuff, he will be the first person to look at you and be like, but does it make sense? Anyway, it's from Hardywood. It was a special release a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, and he was down there to taste it. The shtick of this is it is a New England, not North England. It is Northeast, New England style IPA, double IPA, with Galaxy hops and Mosaic lupulin powder. The interesting part about this is it has 0 IBU, which means there's no bitters at all. It is a double IPA with nothing bitter, and it's definitely very citrus and hop heavy.
Yeah, it tastes kind of orangey, but I get a little bit of a bitter aftertaste.
Really?
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know
like,
how they measure IBUs.
I don't either. It's a sciencey thing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But I like it. I think it's
No,
awesome.
it's good. It definitely is. It tastes good for double IPA. I'm usually not an IPA fan,
So what do you
but
think of
I'll
this?
still drink it. So, and then this is very drinkable. So,
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
good.
So thank
I
you,
like
Jeff. Thank you, Hardywood. This is a fun special release beer. If you guys
Yeah.
have had this and have any opinions about it, please let us know. You can find a link to our Discord in all of our show notes and all of our social media posts. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. We have subreddit 80-bit Podsmash, 80-bit Podsmash. Please hit us up. Ask for feedback. Tell us about how our beer is. Tell us about your favorite beer or your favorite games.
Cool. Show's over. Have a good week. Just so used to that being at the end. Instant feedback. That's what Discord is.
Yes.
When you send a message to us on Discord, it makes our phones go and then we will.
How does that go?
I'm like lightning termite. I never strike the same place twice.
Except for 2 weeks ago.
Except when I make that joke all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't even remember what I was saying. Buzz, our phones go buzz, and we will get back to you immediately. Yeah, guys, I am so tired. It's gonna be a shamble fest. I'm gonna shamble through this one.
All right.
We should have waited for that. We should have done a zombie episode tonight.
We should have,
because I'm shambling.
Brains.
Yeah, I'm shambling.
But instead of brains, you want coffee or something.
Coffee.
Yeah.
You messaged me when I didn't have coffee, and it was a pretty funny exchange.
Yeah, that was an interesting exchange.
In hindsight, it was pretty amusing.
Speaking of feedback.
Yeah. So, no, this has nothing to do with feedback. I want to talk about news.
Okay, let's go to news.
I wanted to talk about, because that's what we always start with.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was, again, where we are now, BlizzCon still hasn't happened, so we're still going to refrain from commenting on any further developments, though developments have happened, but it's starting to slow down a little bit, so we're really hoping that something interesting happens at BlizzCon. So we're not going to comment on Blizzard, but don't worry, there's plenty of controversy to go around.
Yes, there is.
So Bethesda's latest fumble. Seriously, I swear, I feel like the companies are like, it's like juggling between EA, Activision / Blizzard, and Bethesda. Like every few months, it's like controversy, or at least this time of year in the fall. Anyways, the news is that for Fallout 76, Bethesda just announced they were doing a paid supplemental optional subscription service called Fallout First. And it provides things like scrap storage, and like you can access private servers and invite your friends to private servers and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I have a list of the features. It's
okay, yeah, go for
it's
it.
Good. This is right from Bethesda's website. So
well,
Fallout.
Succinct.
Yeah, that's the problem. So from Bethesda.net, private worlds. Play in a private world exclusively for you and up to 7 friends.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have your own private server if you're a member, as long as one of you are a member.
Yeah.
Scrapbox, unlimited storage for crafting components in your own new Scrapbox container, which if you guys play the game, Stash is like limited to 500. So having an unlimited one, amazing. That's actually the most enticing thing on this list, and that tells you something. Survival tent.
Well,
a new placeable fast travel point with a stash, sleeping bag, and more for your basic needs. So you can create a third entity. You can always fast travel to Fallout 76. You can always travel, Vault 76.
Yeah.
You can always travel to wherever you place your camp. Now you have a third place, survival tent. Atoms, which is their in-game current or their microtransaction currency, receive 1,650 atoms per month to use in the Atomic Shop. You get Ranger Armor Outfit, an iconic Fallout outfit exclusively for members. And last and most importantly, Icons and Emotes Pack. Unique icons and emotes available only to members. And that's it. That's the content.
So how much is it again, you want to say?
It is $100 for a year. Or, I believe it is $13 a month.
Yeah, for $2 extra, you get the entirety of World of Warcraft, for example.
But we don't like Blizzard. So for $2 more, you get Game Pass from Microsoft, which will include The Outer Worlds. And Fallout New Vegas in their entirety.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a better one.
Yeah.
It's a steep price for not a lot. Essentially what it boils down to is unlimited material storage, a fast travel point, some cosmetic stuff, and private servers. It's a little steep for a game that already doesn't have a huge player base. Though it's scrapped together a cult following, it's still not a huge player base, and they're trying to milk that player base for all it's worth. The big controversy that came out of it is for the people who did fork over the $13 or $100 for the year, they got rewarded with losing all their stuff.
Yeah, I heard
because that unlimited scrap bank was just eating things and deleting them immediately as soon as you did it. So players affectionately referred to it as pay to lose.
Oh my gosh.
And it's bad. Like bugs are a buggy game is one thing, but when they're actually deleting, to be fair, Borderlands 3 had a pretty heinous bank storage deleting bug as well. I lost 50-something legendaries that I had stored up over my first playthrough due to a bank deleting thing. So, but I didn't pay. I paid a one-time fee for Borderlands 3. I didn't subscribe to a service only to have all my stuff go away. So, yeah, players are really mad, not just on the service itself, but also the fact that it was bugged, resulting in the loss of hard-earned stuff.
There was, to add a little bit more controversy to that, the private servers that are supposed to be those are unable to be affected by mods, which if you play it on PC, apparently you can use mods and like do things to some level of control like you have on you would think. Being a private server, you would have all of the freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And they're actually restricting it even more. So if you want to create a private server, it has to be the Bethesda clean Fallout 76, no mods. And if
you pay for the right to have less freedom. Yep, there you go.
Right. And if you have your party of 8 and you're the guy who's paying and your subscription lapses, the server is shut down and it's gone. So whatever you don't have, your camp is saved between servers. You switch between servers all the time anyway when you play the game. So whatever, that will carry on. But if you have anything special about your server, it's gone.
Yeah. So rightly so, players are upset with Bethesda, and it's going to be interesting to see how they try to salvage it. But the interesting thing about it all, it couldn't work out better for Obsidian Entertainment and Microsoft, who owns them, because they just released The Outer Worlds, which Termite had hinted at further. The Outer Worlds was made by the creators of Fallout
76. New Vegas,
yes,
right,
which
Obsidian.
is regularly widely considered the best 3D Fallout.
Yes, and they also made Star Wars Knights of the Republic too.
Yep, and so Obsidian Entertainment's got, and they basically made a game that is Fallout New Vegas and everything but IP.
Right,
it is the same gameplay.
That
the
actually
same feeling.
diminishes its quality because apparently it's completely bug-free and its dialogue choices and animations are awesome.
Yeah.
And it's in a space between BioWare and Bethesda that doesn't exist right now. I'm quoting IGN because I didn't realize that until I heard it, and I was like, that's exactly what this game looks
it's like a polished up New Vegas with like a whole different intellectual property, and a lot of people are loving it. It's reviewing very well. Comes out technically tomorrow from when we're recording this.
I'm dying to play it
And
so badly.
so it's just kind of funny that the game was announced when Fallout 76 was released, and too much, if you remember last year, we covered greatly the controversy of Fallout 76 when it launched.
Yes, we did.
That's around the time that they announced the Outer Worlds, and now the Outer Worlds is coming out right when they're under a whole different controversy.
Yep.
So it's just like Bethesda's doing everything they can to make the Outer Worlds look great.
Yep. And here's a perfect segue point, and put a little pin in this thought, but this comes on the heels of Fallout 76 delaying their announced at E3 patch that will add NPCs to the game.
Oh, wow.
So
that's already delayed.
A lot of players are super disappointed because they just announced that that's going to be pushed into next year, like 2020.
Man.
So no big new Wastelands patch.
How the mighty have fallen. If you were to tell me in the year 2000... when did Skyrim come out?
I don't even know now. I forgot.
2012? 2012. Yeah. If you were to tell me that in 2012, that by the end of the decade, the fans of Bethesda and the fans of Blizzard would hate them.
Yeah.
Would hate both of those companies. At that time, I would have laughed at you and said, there's no way. But
there's no way.
Just
ironically.
How the mighty have fallen.
Oh, and fans of BioWare would hate them too.
Oh, yeah, BioWare too. Exactly.
They crapped the bed with Anthem.
Man.
So the mighty have fallen indeed.
The mighty have fallen indeed.
Oh my gosh. And I just heard, I'm going to take 2 seconds. I just heard a whole, apparently an embargo lifted on a 3-hour experience that a lot of the journalists got with Star Wars.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Yes, I could not remember either. Jedi Fallen Order. And it is flawless from what they're talking about. There's no bugs. It's one of the only press events that have happened where there's people on staff there watching them play just in case something went wrong, and nothing went wrong for 3 hours. They're saying it's perfect. Super, super close to, they're relating it to God of War and its combat structure and skill tree system and how you develop the characters. It sounds absolutely incredible. Everything they're saying, that quickly jumped from super skepticism, there's no way this is coming out on time, to it's at the top of my Christmas list this year, along with Outer Worlds.
EA might release a Star Wars game without any controversy?
Yes.
What?
And they were talking about the customization systems, how there's no microtransactions at all, there's no loot boxes at all, and there's no multiplayer whatsoever.
Just
nothing. It's
Star
just
Wars
a straight up
game.
single, and it's canon in the story completely.
Oh, nice.
And because it's Disney's license and stuff, so it's official in the canon. It's going to show and flesh out story arcs that we've never heard or seen. You can customize your lightsaber hilt color and skins,
Outer Worlds,
Jedi robes. Crazy.
Yeah, Outer Worlds and Fallen Order have both jumped to the top of my I'm watching them very closely list. In fact, if I can carve out some time this weekend, my intention is to rent the Outer Worlds for $3 at Redbox.
Yeah.
And play it for a day and see if I want to buy it, because I'm it's one of those things where I have to feel it, because I was attracted to both New Vegas and Fallout 4, and in both cases I played a little bit more of 4 and just didn't really get into it, and it was all because of the stiff gun mechanics. But if the gun mechanics are closer to like BioWare, like Mass Effect caliber, then I might enjoy it a little bit more. So
the reviews say gunplay feels good.
I'll have to give it a shot.
And, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Cool. All right, we can move on from this. Yeah. So we can talk about...
just fun, exciting things.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a good rabbit hole. Okay, so along with the other news, talking about delays, that was the segue. PlayStation, nice. On the PlayStation blog, we were met this morning with an announcement that The Last of Us Part 2 comes to PS4 in May. Now, I haven't read any part of this, so this is fresh off my mind as well. Here's what... Neil Druckmann, director of The Last of Us Part 2, we may have said his name on this show before, says, "To our fans, let me cut to the chase and get the news out of the way. The Last of Us Part 2 has a new release date of May 29th, 2020. That I have not seen that date yet. May 29th. It's supposed to be in February. It's a 3-month delay. I know.
Still, I read their post about it.
That's what I'm reading.
And I'm like, I understand. Like, I'm of the mindset that I'm like, you know what? I've got other things to look forward to in spring. So I'm willing to wait if they would need to polish it out. Give it that Naughty Dog polish, yo.
There's a paragraph. It's like about a month ago, we had our big blowout for the game, letting media play over 2 hours, and I'll fast forward a little bit. However, it was during the last few weeks, as we were closing out sections of the game, that we realized we simply didn't have enough time to bring the entire game up to a level of polish we would call Naughty Dog quality. At this point, we were faced with two options: compromise parts of the game or get more time. We went with the latter, and this new release date allows us to finish everything to our level of satisfaction while also reducing stress on the team. I mean, that's like perfect, right? That's what we've been kind of touting, was forget this crunch thing, let the date slip, create a polished game.
Yep.
The Last of Us, the first one, was the best PlayStation 3 game, hands down. And it came out right before the PS4 did. In fact, some people got PS4s before they got The Last of Us, part one. So this is going to be in the same vein, right? It's pushed to May. We know we're probably going to hear about the PS5 before then. So we'll already know everything we need to know about the PlayStation 5 before we can even buy The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah. And then in the fall, we'll have Last of Us Part 2. So it fits. This will be the best PlayStation 4 game, probably. The best visuals, the best programming, the best narrative, the best
competition.
Story.
They've got a lot of competition for best PS4 game.
I bet it will be. I mean, Last of Us 1 was, and Naughty Dog nails it every time.
Yeah, but they didn't have as much competition in the PS3 era. And they have a lot of... I mean, when it was the best PS3 game, the PS3 was not the console.
It had caught up to Xbox
console.
360 at the time.
But it wasn't it wasn't considered the darling console. PlayStation 4 is considered the darling console.
Yeah, it is on
and
top.
They've had hits like Spider-Man, God of War...
Yeah, they have.
At all. So
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will.
I'm excited, but I'm
It
bummed.
Probably will be very good, though.
It's going to be. It's one of those things where whenever there's a lot of hype for a game, you're like, can it meet the expectation of the hype? This absolutely can, and it will.
It has potential. I mean, any unreleased game, we can't say that for sure, but I have a lot of hope for it. So, yeah,
they have set lots of good precedents. Speaking of delays, there are more. IGN has reported today as well by Adam Bankhurst that Ubisoft has confirmed Watch Dogs Legion, Rainbow Six Quarantine, and Gods and Monsters have all been delayed into Ubisoft's fiscal year 2020 to 2021, which runs from April of 2020 through March of 2021. So that date range is where all three of these games will land. I do believe Watch Dogs Legion was supposed to come out this November.
Oh, interesting.
So it also got pushed even farther into next year. Yeah. So it's interesting that all this stuff is happening. And I'm wondering, is it because of this whole anti-crunch time movement? Are companies now taking that seriously and pushing games? Or does it have to do with
the console release?
The new console coming, and they're wanting to have compatibility and or enhancements since the dev kits have now gone out and they've leaked. We've seen those. I'm guessing the latter. I'm not going to say they're altruistic and they're trying to fight against crunch time. I'm going to say...
I would be willing to believe that about Naughty Dog more so than Ubisoft, personally.
Well, Neil actually pointed it out in his statement. Yeah. And there's a long blurb here from Ubisoft as well, and they pretty much say the same thing: strategy to maximize the future value of our brands for the long-term benefit of our employees, players, and shareholders. So they say the same thing in their press release too. So I'm going to go lean on the side of we're going to make these things enhanced for the next generation of consoles because these are the cross-generation games.
Right, yeah, they're going to end up being that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, then. Does that lead us into... Does that do it for news?
That's all I'm talking about.
Okay. I had another thought come to mind, but I can save it for next week.
Are you sure?
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
But I like it.
No, we'll save it for next week.
Okay.
It's just, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm probably going to delete all of
it's
that waffling,
it's
too.
Fine. It's fine.
All right, so that leads us to our next segment, which is...
Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing.
When I said is, my mind went blank for a half second. I started to panic.
I had no idea
what is it. So thank you for helping me, leading me into that.
It's something the audience would never know if you didn't say it.
Yeah, that's true.
Favorite things.
Favorite things is a segment where we update you on the thing that we're digging this week, the thing that we're interested in, and the thing that makes us happy, and hopefully you might make you happy too if you decide to.
From as shallow as a perfectly popped bag of popcorn to as meaningful as an interaction with your baby. Yeah. However you want, whatever you want. What's your favorite thing? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
I'm ready. So this week, during Monday Night Football, there was a new trailer for Star Wars Episode 9. And alongside that trailer, which was the back burner to what actually happened, I was aware of this. Tickets were going to go live for sale, right? So, knowing that I have a subscription, or a notification, I subscribed to Wario64's Twitter account. I knew I was going to get a notification when the servers went live. However, my son, the second baby, was trying to go to sleep. Like, it was time for him to go to bed, but he wasn't cooperating. So I was sitting in his room so that I could be there in case he needed me, but I didn't need him actively at that moment. I decided to preemptively, knowing it was like 7:30 at night, go to the Regal app and check out the Star Wars theaters and what's available, what times, and all this is happening and whatnot. So I click on like Friday, December 20th at noon, and I click on the time slot, and it loads the entire theater, and I can choose any seat that I want.
Nice.
So I'm like, this can't be real. There's no way. There's no way. So I picked the 2 best seats in the house. It's an IMAX screen. You want right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. Well, I mean, like, you have to look at the scale. When I say right in the middle, I don't mean actual middle, but yeah, the best possible seats you can have for an IMAX screen. I chose those 2. Check out. It loaded the price. I chose my credit card payment method. Next, confirmation. Email in my inbox that I've just bought 2 tickets to go see Star Wars Episode 9 at an IMAX screen, the best seats in the house.
Yay.
And then I got the notification that tickets went live.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, what? This never happens to me.
Fantastic.
I always get in line. I always sign up for notifications. I'm always late. I'm always behind. I don't ever get primo choice. And it finally happened.
Fantastic. Yay.
So I'm really excited. And I didn't even try it. It wasn't even in my control. It was nothing I did. It was complete luck.
Nice.
So I'm super excited. It's going to come out December 20th. And if you guys know, Christmas falls on a Tuesday.
So close to Christmas.
It is. We're talking about Christmas now.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Well, Christmas is Tuesday. This is the Friday before. And my tickets are for noon because kids. We need to be home to put the kids to bed on time. So that's the kickoff to my Christmas vacation.
Yeah.
Because it's a Friday, so I'm done. I'm like not going to go to work, and then I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't even know. I haven't even thought about it. I might even be in Harrisonburg when visiting my family when the movie comes out. So I probably won't see it. I might see it opening weekend if I'm lucky, but I probably won't see it opening night because baby.
Right.
But if we are in Harrisonburg, we
did manage to sneak off and see Endgame, or was it Infinity War, or both?
No, he
had to been Endgame.
It was between. My wife got pregnant between Infinity War and Endgame. But so it's like when Infinity War happened, we were single people without.
Okay,
a kid wasn't even an apple in our eye.
Yeah,
and then Endgame come out, we had a full a baby. A baby was out. Like
I remember there was
Marco
no
baby, and then there was a baby. So between just those 2 movies, so I guess it would have been Endgame that we went to go see.
Yeah, I remember Marco Polo with you 2 in the car, and you're like, "We're on our way to see Endgame," and I was like, "That's awesome!" You guys snuck out for an afternoon and like went and got.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to. Well, if we are in Harrisonburg, I guess we'll have people watching the kid. But my sister said something about wanting to go see it with us, and I'm like, well. You guys would be our go-to to watch the kids. So, anyways, yeah. So that's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited because I like The Last Jedi. So I'm excited to see how the thing concludes.
Yeah,
my only fear is that they're trying to do too much. Like J.J. Abrams is trying to do too much because he's like, I need to finish the trilogy. I need to do a satisfying conclusion to the entire Skywalker saga. So the 3 trilogies I need to bring that to a close. I need to win back the fans that Rian Johnson lost without retconning what Rian Johnson did.
Yeah.
and yeah, so I'm just worried that it's going to bite off more than it can chew, but we'll see. J.J. Abrams is a good filmmaker, so
he is.
Hopefully
very good.
And it looks fun. So and I'm probably going to enjoy it.
That's what I want to know.
I think he wrote it.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's cool. My favorite thing is my in-laws have moved in with us, which is cool. So I'm living with Brizzle McFizzle for a while because they sold my brother-in-law got a job in Richmond and they moved up from Asheville. So they're temporarily living with us until they find a place to live. And my dog nephew is going to probably be living with us more long term because they're going to try to find a place. And I told them, I was like, look, he's fine here. We have a backyard. Like we've got baby and dog gates that we can use to corral him away from the baby if we need to. Like we can handle the dog long term. So you guys don't worry about trying to find a place that's compatible with pets.
Yeah.
So yes, I love my dog nephew. He's great. And it's fun to have him in the house. He's also like, he's part lab, part Shar-Pei. And whenever like someone comes up to the house, whether it's one of us or not, he'll this big loud dog bark. And he's a great guard dog is what I'm trying to say. So I feel that much more safe in the house with this big old bear of a dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But he's sweet.
He's a sweet one.
He didn't attack or bite me at all.
No, that's right.
He just did that to me.
Yeah,
like,
that's right, because you came and recorded and he was there. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, good dog. Good dog. It's my dog. So, yeah, it's my favorite thing. Doggy. Woo! So that leads us to our next segment, which is DLC.
Downloadable content.
DLC, or downloadable content, is a segment of our show where we have a discussion that is tangential sometimes to our main topic, but is a topic about video games that you normally wouldn't have about video games.
For the same price as
For the same
episode.
price as the episode. which is nothing. Cool. So our DLC for the day, it ties into our discussion about New Game Plus.
Ooh.
And that is, if you were to... So one of the things about New Game Plus that we'll hit on is sometimes it is, or usually it is like starting a new game with all the things you earned in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
So having all of the stuff. So with that in mind...
Spoiler alert.
If you were to do your life over again, like if you were to start over in 1986. If you were to start over in 1986, not only with all the knowledge of your life before, but with all of the items from the last video game you played.
Oh, nice.
In real life.
So wow.
What would those items be? And, or like roughly from what game? And what would you do with them?
Well, I guess I would have, the last game I played was the Mega Man X Legacy Collection. I was playing that while you were driving here.
Yeah.
Because I'm this close to a platinum, and that's really, really close.
I just realized what game I last played.
Yours would be funny. So I guess I have robot armor and hover boots and a myriad of boss weapons, such as a flame sword or ice crystal ball shooter and a time stopper and a gravity well and a soul body, which is like a mirror image of yourself that does
you
damage.
Get all this stuff at an age where you can actually do something with it.
Yeah,
like
so I will have like a superpower mech suit that will be amazing.
What do you do? What do you do with it to better your life?
I would probably figure out a way to monetize that. And right now I need some time to think about how could you monetize yourself in a super mech suit that pretty much has
just Iron Man it.
Yeah, it'd be really close to that,
fight some
right?
crime or something, and show it off, and then when people want to buy it from you, you like...
I can't reproduce anything of this because I don't know how it was made.
I guess you could just sell it off and they could backwards engineer it or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then
I would like to better the world. I would hate to use it for the destruction of anything. I would like to save people or help people.
So
with
maybe
it.
just like the hover boots and the armor.
Well, I'd still have all the items, but
for like firefighters.
Maybe I can like burn trash off. Like a destruction happens, and I can like rescue people by cutting
and then,
into
like rescue suits and stuff.
Yeah, and like using heavy lifting, flying powers to like lift debris off of folks and stuff.
I'll do mine real quick. The last game I played was Until Dawn.
Oh, nice. It's a horror video game.
It's a horror video game about like solving a murder. So I guess all the items I have are like all of the clues related to this murder. So I don't really know much I could do. Maybe I could, the game takes place roughly around 2017. So maybe I could prevent the murder from happening. But it was a video game, so maybe I just sell off all my ideas to...
What are these clues? Like daggers, photographs, fingerprints?
Pictures and news articles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's from the future.
But it's in a video game, which is not relevant to your life in this time, or this world.
I guess. Yeah, that's
so you
true.
just have all these things about a world that doesn't exist.
Yep, my New Game Plus life
womp
sucks.
I didn't realize it was a murder mystery game.
It's a bit of both. Like you're collecting clues. I mean, but it's also horror. But you can also, I think, there's a whole thing about like clues. So I think you're also trying to solve.
I want to play it.
Stuff.
I want to play so many things. Mm-hmm. There's just no time.
That's DLC. Cool. So our main topic tonight, which we didn't mention at the onset of the episode, but you probably saw in the title of the episode when you downloaded it, is we are talking about New Game Plus.
And you just mentioned it in our DLC.
And I did just mention it on our DLC, yes. So New Game Plus is I guess we'll start there. What's New Game Plus?
New Game Plus is what you said and defined in DLC is that you start a game over with a carryover from the previous playthrough. Mm-hmm. Whether it's items, whether it's level, status, or something is different starting off again. Based on what you did in the last game.
It differs from a new game in the sense that there's carryover, there's follow through, there's like you don't have to get all the stuff again. You just can go through with all the stuff you already have. Mm-hmm. So it kind of affects different types of games differently depending on what New Game Plus is. But it's typically, I mean, you don't see it in. It's not a thing for multiplayer games. It's not a thing for. Okay, well, sorry, it's not a thing for like competitive multiplayer games because they don't really.
Yeah, the prestige system in Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well,
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it really
right.
is.
Well, then let's talk about that. Typically, I'll say the typical, like, conception of New Game Plus and what it came from was these single-player games where over the course of the game you unlock... I mean, it's like Zelda. Like, you unlock items, or in the case of, like, Borderlands, you've gotten all this gear, and then you can start the whole campaign over again with all the stuff you had so that you're not just starting from scratch again. Yeah. So it's not just... replaying the same game over and over
Great.
again.
All of what you just said just highlighted the myriad different ways.
Yeah,
and that's what
fair.
inspired me about this topic. Was
Yeah.
Days Gone just had a patch adding New Game Plus to Days Gone. Now, I haven't played Days Gone yet. I want to, but I've heard it's a lot like open world RPG mechanics, kind of Horizon Zero Dawn, but
Right.
zombies and a
With
dude on a
zombies
motorcycle and like. But there's a New Game
dinosaurs.
Plus mode added to it, and I was like, it's really being added to everything.
Right,
'Cause
yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn has one. God of War has one.
Mhm.
Spider-Man has one. These are all single-player games. Where did it come from? Why is it here? Why is it a thing?
Mhm.
And it's so like commonplace, yet no one really talks about where it came from.
Yeah.
And it came from one of my favorite video games of all time. It started with Chrono Trigger on the Super
Chrono
Nintendo.
Trigger, yeah, I looked that up because I was like, where did this come from? I want to look up the history, and I
Yep.
saw that tidbit too, so I'm glad you mentioned it. 'Cause-
And they did it the best way possible. And they didn't just do a New Game Plus like we see today, where you want to milk this franchise. We'll get
Right.
into the reasons why people do it, but it's kind of like that now. It feels like that. It's kind of cheap, shallow. It's like you can start the game over again with
just increase the playtime, keep
just
that
do it
engagement,
again,
keep people
right?
playing it. Yep.
Well, with Chrono Trigger, it was baked into the cake of the game, and that is there are 7 different endings, and one of the most hard to get endings, you have to beat the game at the very beginning of the game. It's a game about time travel.
Oh, gotcha.
And so you have to have the best gear in the game, and you have to be a high level. And the only way you can be high level at the very beginning of the game is through New Game Plus to
yeah.
get that ending.
Well, and they coined the term too.
They did.
The term New
Yeah.
Game Plus
Right.
came from
And
Chrono
you
Trigger.
needed it because if you wanted to see all 7 endings, you had to finish the game at specific times during the game because it's like time travel. So it was like you had to finish it in this time, you had to finish it in this time. And it's weird because I'm using the word time ambiguously.
Right.
It's literal time frame, like AD, BC time, like years, because those are how the game is divided. As you progress through the story, you go to different timelines.
Yep.
But I meant like in the chronology of your playthrough, there are certain points in the game that you have to meet certain conditions to get certain endings. And New Game Plus was the only way you could do it. And so like that was extremely innovative. I
Right,
thought
so it was baked into the.
it was
yeah,
awesome,
the
right?
design
It was
of the game,
it was
yeah.
part of your incentive to continue to explore and play and do infinite amount of New Game Plus.
Yeah,
so that's the origin of it all.
And that's and that's the origin of it. That's one way it was implemented. So how are that moves us nicely into our next question, which is
Right.
what are some other ways other than that New Game Plus has been implemented since it was pioneered by Chrono Trigger?
There have been some lighter weighted ones, such as like unlockable items. If you beat Resident Evil on a certain difficulty, you'll get like a pistol that has unlimited ammo. Or if you beat Metal Gear Solid, you'll get a bandana that makes you have infinite ammo, or you'll get a stealth camouflage that you can then play through the game again with that kind of enhancement or quote cheat.
Right, and
Something
so,
that makes the game fun or different.
yeah, and a lot of those like Metroidvania kind of influence games where there's like stuff that you encounter at the beginning of the game that you're like, oh, I recognize that's a wall that I can't get behind, but I could get behind it if I had this item it can come back through. So if you already unlock that item, if you unlock that item later in the game and then you do New Game Plus,
You do it
can just
now.
play through the game and then you already have the thing you need, so you can get it there. So it's almost like a more streamlined way of getting some of those collectible puzzle things without having to like backtrack in the main game if you don't want to do that. So there's the kind of idea of continued character progression to access higher level content. You have the example of Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yeah,
specifically.
apparently there was a DLC with super high level stuff. The only way you could get that high in level in a reasonable manner was to replay the game again.
Yeah.
From New Game Plus to get
there. I think a more streamlined version in my mind is like Borderlands, specifically Borderlands, because they didn't call it New Game Plus. They called it in Borderlands 1. They called it first and second playthrough. In Borderlands 2, they called it True Vault Hunter and Ultimate Vault Hunter modes. And in Borderlands 3, it's just True Vault Hunter mode. But at any rate, it's the same idea. You start the story over again, but you have all the guns that you had in the last playthrough, and you usually end the campaign of normal mode around, the level 30 or whatever, and to get to the max level of 50, you have to play through the game in the subsequent playthroughs.
And now they have those Mayhem modes, right?
Yeah, Mayhem mode is a little different, though. Mayhem mode can be activated at any point in time.
Gotcha.
It's more like Diablo's Torment system, where you can just
Let's
kind
not
of
mention
modify.
anything from that company. We're mad at them.
We were mad at them, but, I'm still going to mention their games because
know.
they were so
Yeah,
influential.
Diablo is on my mind as well. Because you can play through the campaign with normal mode, then there's Hell and Nightmare, and then Torment.
Well, but then they ended up changing it. Diablo 3 ended up changing it with which I like better. When the Reaper of Souls expansion, they made it so that you only had to play through the campaign once.
Right.
And you could adjust the difficulty as you went. And then they had released Adventure Mode. You didn't need to play through the campaign at all. So
That's true.
But yeah,
prior
so,
to that, it was
Right.
to access high level content, you had to replay Diablo again and again and again.
And Borderlands still does that.
Yeah.
You still have to go through and do do that. So yeah, that's kind of what that's a implementation of New Game Plus, even if it's not called New Game Plus, as is the case with True Vault Hunter mode.
I'm going to jump over that one and say that one for last because it's bad. So that's the worst one. So what I'm going to call Clear Game, I actually stole from the Wikipedia page about this.
Yep.
It didn't make any sense to me. I had to read it like twice. But what it basically means is you finish the game, you're done. You don't necessarily start over, but you can keep going endlessly. And so Red Dead Redemption 2 and all of the Fallouts are this way. They're super open world, and once you finish the story, your character is kind of done with the story, and you're free to roam the world and do anything you want. So that's cleaning up side quests, that's like continuing to get better gear, exploration, hunting, gathering, collections, etc. I don't really... it's kind of like maybe a New Game Plus, because you're not really starting over. But it never really ends, and so it adds that replayability on the back end.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know if I would consider that New Game Plus, but I can see, because
right.
it's not like you're not starting this. I mean, usually it's in the context of starting the story over again, or starting whatever your progression was over again. But yeah, no, it's still worth mentioning that there's definitely some nuance. There's definitely some nuance in New Game Plus and what it is. The simple replayability, what you have there.
That's the last and the worst category. They just padded a game.
Right.
Here's a New Game Plus for no reason.
I mean, usually you have, like in Horizon Zero Dawns, I know, because I did New Game Plus, started New Game Plus on that. And same thing with God of War's New Game Plus is... you still have all the items and stuff. In God of War, it's like all the moves that you unlocked in Horizon Zero Dawn. So in those regards, I'm torn a little bit, because on the one hand, it's like, oh, cool, I don't have to go through and unlock. I can do all these moves and stuff that I had before.
Right.
On the other hand, it's kind of like, okay, this trivializes some of the content.
Everything.
It's not that hard anymore. I guess you can do it on higher difficulty for the games that require you to for the trophy, but...
Right.
Or for the difficulty, for the enjoyment of the difficulty. But I don't know, part of the fun of an RPG for me is like, you start off kind of weak with a limited amount of things to do, and then you get stronger and you unlock more things, and it gets more...
That's why I touted these as like, you can tell they're just trying to... I guess it's an easy patch, or something simple the developers can throw in there.
Things is something... There are people who like New Game Plus a lot in that form. For those people, I'm glad they implement them. It's also just kind of like, not really for me. I think if I were to restart the game, I would just do a whole new game all over again. Yeah.
Spider-Man, of the three examples I have, are Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Days Gone, and God of War, right? Those are all PlayStation exclusives from this generation. Spider-Man was the only one that even came close to me starting New Game Plus.
Oh, interesting.
And then Horizon Zero Dawn, the first time I had played through it, I'd borrowed the game. This is a very personal, me story. So generally, I don't like this kind of New Game Plus, but with Horizon Zero Dawn, I had borrowed the game and blitzed through to get the platinum. Couldn't care less. I mean, I paid attention to the story. The story is amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But I really could spend a little bit more time in that world. And so New Game Plus to me was appealing later.
Did you do the DLC?
I have not. So I'm going to try and do it this winter. Fun. We'll see if I can line that up. But New Game Plus was appealing to me because I now own a copy of the game and I can take my time with it. So I can go through and do it again. And I don't want any of the difficulties. I just want all the story in the world. So New Game Plus is appealing in this regard for that.
Yeah, cool.
Reduce the difficulty to nothing.
Basically. Cool. All right. Well, now that we've kind of gone through different ways that it's been implemented, do you see any way that New Game Plus is kind of changing, or that New Game Plus is...
it's a good segue.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I switched. So the reason why I feel like we're getting these kind of New Game Plus replayability, like there's no meaning to New Game Plus other than just spend more time in your game, is it kind of lines up with some of the monetization strategies we've seen lately with games as a service. And so they want you to spend more time on your game instead of buying the next new game.
Yeah.
We're seeing fewer games being made, but they're all huge. And they all want you to have their season passes and their microtransactions, whether they be cosmetic or loot boxes, etc. And so we're seeing kind of a New Game Plus idea lining up with that. It's slowly but surely it's getting there. It's like, get that New Game Plus and hang out in your game for long enough for the next piece of content to come out so that you're still there when the new DLC drops. Boom, now you're going to buy it and you're going to stay with our game longer. And so I'm surprised games as a services type stuff haven't really jumped in on this. Because like with Destiny, for example, you could implement a New Game Plus where you finish the campaign, maybe you start your second character, the different class, and you have all the carryover as far as like money and maybe some starter gear based on the light level of the last one, and you can continue to progress, or maybe have that.
They kind of did that with Diablo 3 where like your gold was shared across your gold
and the Paragon
and your
levels too.
Smithy and your Paragon levels. Yeah, stuff like that was all shared across all your characters. So yeah,
So that's a change in the New Game Plus. So and it kind of stinks if you contrast this with what I talked about with Chrono Trigger and how awesome it was for the game itself to be baked, have New Game Plus be essential.
Because you got basically new content each time.
Yeah, and you had to in order to get it all. Now it's like, oh, this New Game Plus is clearly just tacked on to make me hang out longer until I can pay for something.
Yeah, I've seen some little bits, even in some of the examples that you gave that are kind of like, really, you're just trying to milk your game time. There are bits that give me promise and hope for the feature. Yeah, not the future, for the future of the feature. And that is things like God of War, for example, is like, oh, the enemies are going to have new attack patterns. And stuff like that. And I think of like even in the pre-sequel, for example, Borderlands pre-sequel, when you got to the True Vault Hunter mode, since the story was the whole story that you played was a story that was being told by the character of Athena. The conceit of True Vault Hunter mode in that regard was Tiny Tina comes over and is like, wait, no, I missed the story. Tell it again, Athena.
Oh, seriously?
So Athena
That's pretty
tells
funny.
it again.
Yeah.
And then throughout the whole thing, you get little like Tina and Brick and other characters with like dialogue.
Oh, that's funny. I
So
didn't
you'll
know
get
that.
more dialogue.
Yeah.
So I think that like, I just haven't seen it go far enough. I agree. Like for the most part, it's still just like, okay, I'm just replaying the same content. So I kind of want new, what I would want to see. Do we have a question about that?
Yeah,
Like,
what do we
in the
want to see in the future? Yep.
Do we? I don't think it's
I thought
there.
so.
No, it's cool. So I'll talk about it here.
Okay.
So like what I would want to see from New Game Plus in the future is like getting back to more of that, what it was in Chrono Trigger, where you're actually getting some bit of a new experience. So whether that's games should be written to have additional story content, details that are fleshed out over time. Imagine doing New Game Plus and like maybe not changing the ending necessarily, or maybe not like a whole new story, but what if like you replay the game and you got access to like missions that go further in depth into portions of the lore or the story of whatever world you're doing?
Yeah.
Like that would be cool, because then it would give incentive to actually play it so that you can get the quote full experience. I guess Nier Automata.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah,
that's kind of a newer way of looking at New Game Plus.
Yeah, and they did that where, I mean, but they went to the whole extreme of like, it was a whole different story in like the third playthrough, but you had to play it like 5 times to get the full story, which is kind of tedious. I'm like satisfied with like two. If you were to do a second playthrough that had more like depth in the story, like that would be perfect, because then that would be a perfect like compromise in my mind. So yeah, it's the feature has promise for sure, but I think they need to refine it. I agree. They need to refine it a little.
There's
bit.
a lot of potential there to do something really cool. And maybe Chrono Trigger had the whole time travel thing, which leans itself into you want to start over, but because you're then making the player a part of the time travel in some way. And that's really innovative. It's just genius like, to think about that at the meta level. I agree. Like, I would love to see New Game Pluses be that, where you have something different, something new, a reason to, like, you start the game from scratch for the first time ever, knowing you're going to play through it multiple times. And then the first time you play through it, you can kind of keep eyes out as to like, or markers, memory, little things like that's going to be important on my next playthrough. And then like take off a different story dialogue. And or like with Fallout, we see dialogue choices, or you have, what's the most recent game where you make dialogue choices and it actually changes your game? I know, right? I can't draw a blank. It's
I guess Outer Worlds probably does that.
It will be, yeah. But it would be cool if like you could start a New Game Plus with that kind of world where characters in the game remember what you used to say and like call you out for changing or something. I don't know, like super cheeky and kind of fun. Like there's so much here that could happen.
Yeah, I would like. I mean, I like what the God of War did with the like new attack patterns.
Yeah,
so that kind of thing where it's like enemies having new moves, so it definitely makes it feel more fresh and makes it feel more different. While also going as far as maybe even having like a whole different enemy type that doesn't appear in the base game. That appears in the New Game Plus. Yeah, exactly. Cool. So we actually already talked about kind of different reasons why New Game Plus is included. So we can actually get to our final question. Maybe we finished a little bit early this week. And what do you think? What do you think on the whole? Do you think New Game Plus is a good feature? Do you think the idea is
absolutely. I love New Game Plus. Every time I hear it, I like perk a little bit. Like, ooh, what's that about? And then I go look at it and figure out why it's there and what's it entail and what can it get me and what more stuff does it add to the game. And then I just see like Days Gone, New Game Plus, and I'm like, oh, it's just that for now. Well, I can still hold out for the future for something else.
Yeah. I think I like the concept. I don't necessarily like how it's been executed. I don't think I've ever finished, other than like the Borderlands ones, because they're kind of part of how the game is
You almost have to.
Yeah, you almost have to for Borderlands. So it's not as bad, even though I don't love the whole replay through thing. I don't know if like I've ever consciously gone and been like, I'm going to finish a New Game Plus that I started. I guess I technically did it with God of War. Yeah, because I recently beat that game, and I beat it specifically with New Game Plus, not just a new game. Because I've replayed games. I've started a new game on games over and over again. The Zelda franchise, I've probably played each one of them like at least twice. Yeah, almost all, except for maybe Skyward Sword. I think I only played that one once.
How many times you play Minish Cap?
All of the main home console entries, yes, I've played through those at least twice.
I'm just messing.
Yeah, I know you are. But it was fair. It was valid. But yeah, I can't think of a game like Horizon Zero Dawn. I started New Game Plus, and I ended up just using New Game Plus to do the DLC super easy because I had all the stuff.
That's a good idea.
So I wanted to finish the game to get the trophy, so I should revisit it. But then I'm like, maybe I should start a new game, like maybe I just start fresh and get Aloy up, and have that power fantasy. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I like the implementation. I know people like it, so it's successful obviously because people keep doing it. So I don't think it takes away anything from games. So why not have it? So
that's true. That's a good point. So you said we're going to finish early. We're probably not now because that's a great point. Does New Game Plus take away any value from a game?
No,
it absolutely not. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe the developers think it's easy to just throw it into a game to add more longevity to their game, but it didn't hurt anything. Why not?
It's not. It's not really hurting anything.
Maybe you got to sit through a download.
It's by far not the worst practice.
Right. It's definitely not malicious.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, the worst they can be accused of is lazy content, but...
Right. It's just
would
extra
you rather
padding.
have no extra content or a little bit of lazy extra content?
And no one has actually, used New Game Plus as a way to extend the life of their game until paid content comes out yet. I was speculating when I said that earlier. So it's a thing. It feels like that as monetization strategies get more nefarious. It feels like New Game Plus is aligning themselves with that. So that's kind of a small correction there.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else to add? Any other thoughts to add about New Game Plus? It's kind of a small topic. It's not anything
super meaty,
groundbreaking, but I think it's worth talking about because it's definitely a trend.
It's kind of everywhere now
in the gaming industry.
It's crept into everything.
Well, and like you said, I guess we can talk about how it's been implemented in multiplayer games with the whole prestige system.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, we just glossed over that.
Yeah, we totally glossed over it.
That's funny. So you're tired, and it's like
that's not why I wasn't ending early. I mean, I was just completely. I guess it just didn't cross my mind. So.
Yep. So Call of Duty is a competitive online multiplayer shooter. You guys all know Call of Duty. There's a prestige system because you have a level associated to your count. So as you play the game, you progress through levels, you unlock guns. Well, it's kind of an opposite of New Game Plus. It's almost like the inverse.
Right.
You hit max level, you've unlocked everything. You have the option of what they call prestige, where you start back at level 1 and you lose all of your upgrades, but your stats carry over. Right. So your kill death ratio, how many games you've played, et cetera, et cetera.
And I'm assuming you get some kind of medal or icon.
You get a special icon.
People are like, oh, he's prestiged 4 times, therefore he must be really cool.
Right. And then they would have the max prestige, which was 10 or so, at least initially. It's probably more now, where you'd have the 10 prestige icon. Very few people had it. And when they joined your game, you were like, I'm not going to win because they were so good. But that's because they went through 1,000 levels. Yeah. And they've unlocked everything 10 times. Battlefield continued the trend when EA and DICE started Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1. They all have this kind of system where you level up and you hit max level. Titanfall did the same thing, but they called it a different system. It wasn't called Prestige.
World of Warcraft did it as well. I know we
did
don't
they
speak of it. Yeah, they did it in their PvP. You could...
max level and then start over?
Yep. Max PvP level. You unlocked all your little abilities and talents, but then you could choose to, and then you get cosmetic rewards, I think, if you prestige. So it's kind of like purposefully nerfing yourself after you went through and unlocked a lot of stuff in order to purposely disadvantaging yourself in a PvP type of game in order to get some kind of cosmetic reward that you wouldn't normally.
So you can grind yourself back up again?
Yep. Yeah. So it is kind of a form of New Game Plus. It's definitely at least inspired, even if it wasn't necessarily directly we're inspired by New Game Plus.
This is definitely, definitely in the same field. And Final Fantasy XIV, I just read an article today or yesterday about them adding a New Game Plus to it. So that you can, with Final Fantasy XIV, it's an MMORPG, you start a class, say you want to be a warrior, You can when you want to switch to Black Mage, you start your job levels back at 0, but you've already progressed the story, so now you don't have the story quests to help you boost that level, and so you have to figure out ways to grind, and it's more grindy, and it's kind of not as fun, and so it's easier to just start a new character and then be that class. But then it's not easy because sometimes you have different servers and different guilds and clans, and you want to just switch jobs, which is cool, but you can't. So they're now filling in that gap with a New Game Plus feature that allows you to play through the story again, along with your new class type, without losing any progress whatsoever from the previous job class or your items.
So what do you think about it in these multiplayer games? Do you think it works well in these multiplayer, other than that example where it's obviously clearly beneficial? Do you think in like Call of Duty with the prestige system, do you think that's does that change your answer about is New Game Plus a good feature for multiplayer
All
games?
of those are fine. Yeah, that's great.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, it gives players who are like, it benefits the players who are like really good.
Yep.
Because it gives them a reason to like show off with their little medals or with their cosmetics. B, it gives them a reason to like just not like once you're at the top and you have all these cool things unlocked, like it can get kind of stale. So it allows you to freshen up the game by disadvantaging yourself, and then it's good for the people they're playing against. Because you don't have all these people who are just, the rich getting richer, they're super powerful, they're super good at the game already, and they have all these advantages over you. It's like, oh no, the game incentivizes them to purposefully nerf themselves and disadvantage themselves, which allows...
Kind of levels the playing field.
It levels the playing field, exactly, yeah. So I do think...
And I think the perfect marriage of that between the multiplayer New Game Plus and the single player New Game Plus is what we haven't seen yet in the games as a service area.
Yeah.
It's like Anthem, Division, Destiny, they don't have New Game Plus things yet. And I think we'll start to see some innovation in that probably pretty soon.
Yeah.
Maybe with the next console generation.
I don't know if they need it necessarily, but...
No, but if it can make money, it'll be there.
That's fair.
It will be.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that probably does it for us then. So yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on New Game Plus. Do you think it's a good feature? Have you not wasted your time with it? Do you live and breathe New Game Plus? What do you want to see more of with New Game Plus? We want to hear from you. We want your feedback. And Termite will tell you where you can give it.
Start by going to 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website where you will find links to Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and all the other podcasting platforms out there and around the world. If we're not on a platform you would like us to be, let us know. We will put ourselves there just for you to make sure that you don't miss a single episode of 80-Bit Podsmash. I have checked the iTunes. I've checked it recently. Yeah. The last review we have received was in 2018. So if you guys could kindly go to our iTunes Apple Podcast page and write us a review, write us something.
Would you kindly
write us a review so that we can get bubbled up in the algorithms and we can give you guys more content because we will be more popular. And that would be great. That would help us elevate our show to the discoverable video game podcasts out there in the world. Please interact with us.
Go tell us if you did on Discord as well. Hop on Discord and be like, hey, I love you guys' review. Go check it out.
There are links on all of our social media platforms to Discord. Every episode gets posted with the Discord link in the show notes as well on Facebook. I will squeeze it into a Twitter tweet if I can, but sometimes the character restriction stops me from putting the Discord link in there. But we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and I was going to say Snapchat. No, we're not on Snapchat, but it's all 80BIT Podsmash.
I guess we can be if you really want us to.
Right. So there you go.
Well, next week we will be trying to answer the question, does a game going mainstream ruin it? What does it even mean? What is mainstream? What is mainstream appeal, and what influence does it have on games? So that's what you have to look forward to next Monday.
I bet it has to do with money. See you next week.